Hey guys, welcome to the My Camp podcast. I'm Courtney Ortiz. I am your host today, and you are joining me live here in the Girls HC. And I'm really excited to introduce my brand new camp friend, Andy Moeschberger, also known
Hello,
as
friends.
Soy. Love that. And he is the Chief Fun Officer and Camp Director of Gold Arrow Camp in California. So welcome, Soy. What would you prefer? Soy,
I
Andy? Like what's the best
listen.
camp
I think
vibe for you?
soy is nice just because there aren't a lot of other soys, and there
Okay.
are a lot of other Andys. So
All right.
I've
I love
I've taken it
soy.
on.
And as I said, as someone like my maiden name is cauliflower, so
Yeah,
I can appreciate a great name. So, all right.
absolutely.
Soy it is. So, Soy, welcome to my camp. I'm really happy to have you here. I really always love having these conversations by starting off with like your origin story.
Sure.
Everybody has a great camp origin story. What's yours?
It's a great question. So I grew up in Indiana, and I was a church camp kid, and I was a Boy Scout. So like my childhood camping is very much the Geneva Center in Rochester, Indiana. Hello, Camp Buffalo in Central Indiana for the Boy Scouts. Um, and then I went to school, and I was an education major. I played tuba in the marching band at Purdue. That's where I met my wife. She had a rule she wouldn't date tuba players. I had a rule that I wouldn't date teachers. She was an education major. So we ended up married, of course, because rules are for breaking. And she was, at the time, she had been a camper at Gold Arrow Camp, which is in California. She was from Irvine originally. And she was an education major. She literally did that so she could go back to camp in the summer. That was her whole plan. And so once we got married, I was teaching, she was teaching, and then we were living in Colorado at the time, and she was going to California to Gold Arrow. And I said, like, listen, this is great. I'm glad that you have something you love. I'm not going to work at your dumb camp. I work with kids all year long. I need something else. So I went back east to Pennsylvania and lived with my in-laws because my father-in-law runs a tire shop, and I mounted tires for 2 summers.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds so fun. Like, what an
yeah,
alternative there,
man.
boy.
Right. If there are two careers that are right next to each other, it's chief fun officer and tire monkey. And so the second year, she was like, just come visit. Like, I miss you. So I flew across the country. I went to camp. I was at camp for like 45 minutes. I was like, I get it. Makes sense to me. Okay, I'm in. And so the next summer, they brought me out. My first job at camp, my boss, still the owner of my camp, is a guy named Monkey. And my first job description at Gold Arrow was literally Monkey's assistant. They hired me because they liked my wife, and she was like, hire my husband. And so they did. And I just kind of fell into the job. I started on the operations side of things. I did facilities. I drove trucks, I hauled boats, built things. Like, I don't know. That was what they had a role for, and that's what I did.
Let me tell you, don't knock the facilities
Oh
side,
no.
okay? Like I mean, no, they don't
No.
get enough credit. So hats
Yeah,
off
and
to
like
facilities.
for me, it genuinely was. At that point, I was still teaching, and I needed something where I could be around kids but not interacting every day. And like anybody who's been at camp will tell you, like the facilities guy is like this weird kind of superhero for campers. Like everybody knows the janitor, like he's just a special guy. And so that's who I was. And slowly but surely I got sucked into more things at camp. Like the first year they were like, hey, we do this goofy skit at the end where the biggest human guys at camp dress up as the Van Trop family singers, right? And we sing So Long Farewell, right? And so, like I'm 6 feet tall, 250. And so they were like, you're the janitor guy. Come put on a pair of duct tape lederhosen and do this silly thing. And so they pull you in that way is what camp directors do. And before you know it,
They do. They're like, they know.
yes, suddenly like 2 years later, you're hosting morning assembly announcements, and then you're leading songs. And before you know it, you're the chief fun officer. And you're working for camp full-time 14 years later. So that's kind of what happened. In those 14 years, they offered my wife first a full-time job because they're smart and they recognized that she was both beautiful and brilliant. And then eventually, like, she beat them down, and they hired me full-time again. They were like, well, all right, if you want your husband, I guess he can come work. And that's, I think, 6 years ago now. So in the full-time role for 6 years now, which has been a lot of fun.
She's a lifer, right? What we like to call a lifer, right?
I think this is 31 years if you count her camp, like as a camper, and then as a JC, and then as a counselor, and then as a director. I think this is 31 this year for her. So yeah, she's an absolute lifer.
So incredible. So tell me a little bit about Gold Arrow Camp. What's its vibe like? What's the summer like? Sessions, non-sessions, how many kids?
Sure. So we like to tell people that we're kind of that old school rustic summer camp that you think of. I think people often think stereotypical about Eastern camps with that, which is a longer summer and like the hardtop cabins. We're not quite like that. The activities are very similar. So like our cabins don't have electricity. They're actually
Yeah,
large
I actually took
tents.
a note because you made a point in your
Yeah,
website to refer to your living as rustic
very
living. So
rustic.
can we
Yes.
talk about what does that mean at
Yeah.
Golden Arrow rustic living, please?
Yeah. So we are very rustic. Campers live in a 20 by 20 tent with their cabin mates, and then there's a 20 by 20 deck outside. That's the vast majority of them. I do have like 4 or 5 what we call hardtop cabins, which are more traditional metal roof, wooden buildings. None of them have electricity. None of them have lights. No running water in the cabin. No bathroom in the cabin. We have facilities that are, a short walk, but the cabins themselves are, as they have been, kind of for 90 years, platform tents. Before we admitted girls, we're one of those camps that girls weren't there for the first 30 years.
Wow.
Before we admitted girls, the tagline was famously the last of the rugged camps for boys. Send me your boys, I'll return you men, was what our founder used to say in the 50s. And so it's not that anymore, but certainly that rustic DNA is in there.
Well, because you talk about it being old, you're like, you guys are getting ready to celebrate a really big birthday this year. I love a camp with some history. So tell me, what birthday are we celebrating?
This is 90 this year. I did some math earlier. I think it's actually 87 summers of kids coming, because like the 2020 year we did online, it existed. And then we have a couple years. We have 1 year in World War II where the Forest Service didn't let us run. And there's 1 year where they were building the highway it's a 2-lane highway. I say highway like it's the interstate. It's a 2-lane highway that goes right by, and they were blasting a mountainside. And so they didn't let him run in like 1954, I think. But other than that, continuously since 1933.
How are you going to celebrate this summer?
That's a great question. We have a special logo with some gold in it. I tried to talk Monkey into getting the staff gold satin jackets. He hasn't said yes yet, but growth mindset, I think we're going to get there. I don't know.
Gold satin jackets, like that's going to be so fire, Soy.
Yeah, I know, but I got to talk. Listen, it's the issue. You got to talk the money people. You got to talk them into it because it's a satin jacket. Is it going to get wrecked? This is what I'm angling for. I think we're going to have a reunion. We generally do that kind of on the 5s. But yeah, and then you're really ramping up. We're not like some of my friends a little bit east of us have done 100. We aren't there quite yet, but I think we're gonna blow it out a decade from now. Check out 2033. It's gonna be incredible.
All right. Well, we'll have to have this conversation
yes.
again. But generally, since we're talking about birthdays, I know if you have a summer birthday and you're celebrating at camp, how do you make the birthday special?
Yeah. So you're obviously going to get cake at dinner. In addition to your regular dessert. So double dessert
just
if you've got a birthday kid.
Or the whole bunk?
For the whole cabin. Oh yeah, we're
okay.
Because so we eat as a cabin, right? I think most camps do that, right? You eat with your cabin mates. And so yes, you're gonna get a sheet cake specially decorated with your name on it. I know we're gonna bring you up front. We've got the birthday banner behind you. We're gonna put you in what we call the metal folding chair of destiny. And once you get in the metal folding chair of destiny, 4 counselors are gonna lift you on the chair to about hip height. And then we're all 320 of us are going to sing to you as you bob gently up and down, holding your cake in front of everybody.
Safety first.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Well, 4 to lift, and then you got to have 4 spotters. Spoons, not forks. You got to bring them down there to a spot. Absolutely.
Love it. Yes. And so 350 campers, is that how, or 350 including staff? How many kids can you see at one time in a session?
Yeah, if we're all the way full, and right now we're operating a little below capacity. We're still trying to figure out exactly what the right number philosophically for us is. I have 320 camper beds, right? And we operate in the National Forest. And so a lot of what we do capacity wise is governed by the Forest Service. They allow you to have X number of people per acre generally. So if we're all the way full, I can do 320 campers. We're generally a lot closer philosophically to like 290 is where we feel a little bit better. Just from like being able to provide the program and the sense of community, 290 is a happy number for us.
Being in the forest, the state forest, does weather ever or like forest fires or anything? I mean, I'm in South Florida. I know the weather out there is so different, but does anything like that ever play into whether or not you can have camp or how many campers you can see?
I don't think it really impacts capacity. We're either running or we're not.
Okay.
Weather's not really going to impact that. We're really fortunate. The summer in the Sierras is really stable, generally speaking. We'll see rain probably twice a year. And we'll have a lot of warning. For us, we can kind of, if you look at, the Central Valley is next to us, and you get kind of convection. So you look in the valley, you say, oh, it's been over 110 degrees for 3 days in a row. We'll have rain today. And that's kind of a clockwork, so you can plan, but that's pretty rare.
That's hot. I mean, 110 degrees. That's
in the
that's
valley.
hot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's not for us. We're at 7,000 feet. So
okay. So
if it's 110 in the valley, it's probably like 78, 80 for us.
okay.
So that's pretty reasonable. And you've got a lake,
right.
Head to the lake. That's how we're going to solve that
From
problem.
looking at watching the videos and familiarizing myself with Gold Arrow Camp, although the camp that I am at is in northeastern Pennsylvania, it's the landscape looked kind of similar. The trees, the lake, like I could imagine
pine forest, lake.
The temperature kind of feels about the same. It's just so awesome. So you are a session camp. Tell me about the sessions that you offer.
So campers come to us for 13 days effectively, and that counts travel. So really they're there for 12. They come basically 2 weeks at a time, and then we turn over basically the entire thing. So almost everybody goes home every 2 weeks. We'll have a couple of people who stick around who maybe want to do a month, but realistically, they're just going to do that month program a second time, or that 2 week program a second time. So you have to be pretty hardcore addicted to want to do the exact same thing twice in a row. Some kids do, but the vast majority of our campers go home. And then, so yeah, we just repeat the same program. I know some camps do like themes, or they do that kind of thing. We don't. We're really programmatically driven. So like we have a theme for our dance at the end of the session. We have an overarching camp theme this year. We're talking about you can count on me, right? We want campers to be somebody people can count on. We think that's important. But as far as like superheroes or heroes and that kind of theme, we don't do that. It's for us, it's all about self-improvement and activities. And so
I mean, I can imagine by the end of the summer, that last session, your staff is a well-oiled machine, because you're learning and building off each activity. Oh, this didn't work. So, we can tweak this and tweak that. And it really, I feel like you can see so much growth.
Yeah. I mean, that's a part of it. And I think the other thing that we have this advantage of is we've had a stability of the programs we offer for a long time. It's rare for us to offer something new or to take something away. And so, like, we've offered sailing in the same basic format since 1933. It's on the same lake. It sailed from the same dock since 1936. And so on some level, you can bring in people and you can say, hey, this is how the sailing program runs. And you're not reinventing the wheel. And then to get to practice it over and over on a repeating cycle is really powerful as well.
Yeah, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
Right? And
yeah,
it's
for sure.
And I know, celebrating your 90th birthday traditions, I'm sure, run so deep. And so that just ends up being part of the tradition of camp.
Yeah, I think, we certainly value some traditions that we've clung to. For example, if you come to camp for 5 years, either as a staffer or a camper or a combination, you get a green blanket with your name on it. It says Gold Arrow Camp. It's a very big deal to get your blanket. Everybody has like ending assembly, right? And so ours is called Appreciation Campfire, and we call your name and you come down on stage, and Monkey and Sunshine wrap you in the green blanket and you hold your hand out with a 5. So that's a lot of fun. But like sometime in the 70s, they were like, well, but what about kids who don't come for 5 years? Maybe something that they come for 3. So you get like a miniature blanket. We call it a banner when you do 3 years. When you graduate. So we all know that, like, as campers get older, they have more kind of things that get in the way in the summer: sports, travel, other things. And so we end after your freshman year of high school, right? We don't do a lot of teen programming. We do some junior counselors.
I noticed the ages are like 6 to 14.
Yeah. So end your freshman year, like, you're done now. That's your last summer. And so if you come, then we'll give you a paddle with your name on it, because like you stuck it out, like you kept coming back when so many people don't. So that's on that list of traditions. Like I talked about, the biggest guys dressing up in short shorts and duct tape lederhosen to sing So Long Farewell. Our oldest girls close one of our campfires singing Edelweiss, which I think you can probably date that from when The Sound of Music was a popular film. Those two things started. So yeah, that's where we are, I think, traditions wise.
I love it. So take me through a typical day at, we call it GAC? Because
Oh,
really
you got to call it GAC.
we got to call it GAC, right, guys?
Absolutely.
It's not
Acronym it up.
Gold Arrow Camp, it's
Yes.
GAC. All right. So take
Absolutely.
me through a typical day. I hate to say typical because no day at GAC is a typical day.
I'll take you through the average day at GAC, which is of course incredible because every day at GAC is incredible.
Most incredible day at GAC. Go.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're gonna wake up. Great. That's beautiful, clear blue sky, right? It's chilly because we're in the mountains. You're gonna go to breakfast. Right. We serve all of our meals on what we call the dining porch. It's this cafeteria, but it's got a tent top. Right. We don't have a solid roof on it. So you're eating kind of overlooking. We have a creek cleverly called Big Creek. You can hear Big Creek in the background. You're having a delightful breakfast. You come out of the dining porch. There's a big chalkboard. Right. The chalkboard we have 32 cabins. And so it's got 32 squares. You look on the chalkboard and that tells you what you're doing this morning. Maybe your cabin's going sailing. Maybe they're going to horses. Maybe they're going to shotguns, whatever you're going to. And for us, that's non-negotiable. You go to activities as a cabin and you go where you're sent. We have a very kind of intentional scheduling. Everybody's going to get the core activities. And then you're looking at age group and interests, but you're scheduling as a cabin. So campers don't pick with us where they go in the morning or the afternoon. They get assigned. And so then you're back to the cabin, right? We're getting changed. We have morning assembly, jokes, games, a really tremendous puppet show with all of the dad jokes you could ever want. Peter, the partially burnt log, who met his wife on Match.com. The Rock shows up. Don't take him for granted. He might leave. He doesn't, it's everywhere. If you think the Jungle Cruise at Disney is bad, you haven't seen anything until you've been at morning assembly. It's even worse. Then you're off to activity, right? A morning full of activity. Maybe you're on the lake, maybe you're rock climbing, maybe you're horseback riding, whatever. We're back for lunch. Great rest hour after lunch. Sorry about that. The producer guys just grabbed his ears because I slapped my mic. So you're having lunch. Same thing after lunch. You look at the blackboard. Where are you going? Activities in the afternoon. We're back for dinner. After dinner, you may have signed up to do something you really love. After dinner, we do something called evening program where people can sign up for activities. If not that, maybe you have an age group social where all the cabins in your age group are getting together to play bingo or casino night or like yard games. And there's an ice cream social, right? We're going to meet people from other cabins. That's going to be fun. And then at the end of that, whether it's evening activity or your age group thing, you're back to your cabin with just the 10 campers and the 3 counselors you live with. And we're going to close the night every night with an actual campfire. And for us, I don't want to say it's the most important thing we do, but it's certainly in the top 3 of important things we do is the campfire every night.
And your campfire site is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
gorgeous.
And every cabin has like a little campfire pit. And so when you sit there, like you're debriefing from the day. And because we don't let kids pick, that means every day somebody does something they were either scared of or they don't like, or something they loved and they want to get better at. And that chance at the end of the day for kids to talk through, hey, this is what I did today. Hey, I saw you across the fire. You were scared and you did it anyway. Hey, who was your superhero today? Who helped you? That debriefing is really, really powerful. And so for us, the campfire is non-negotiable. You have to have a campfire every night. And it has to be a real fire.
So I don't mean, so every bunk has their own individual campfire. Yep. Wow.
Yeah. So at the end of the night, like when I'm walking like home from the office to my house, because my house is in camp, it's just wood smoke and kids sitting around these little fires, just talking about their days with each other. And it's really, really powerful stuff.
Oh my God. I want to see a photo of that. Can you?
I will send you one.
When you like, just, I know we're not supposed to have our phones at camp, but if you had a camera, just be like, boop, boop.
Oh yeah. It's
because
so good.
It's classic. And I'm sure it looks just the same way as it did 90 years ago. And I'm hearing you telling me about the chalkboard and I'm like, oh my God, if I had a picture of that and a black and white from it'd be the same photo, like the logos on the shirt would be different. And that is it. And I think that's to me, one of the I started at camp as a photographer. So I have these photos and I would shoot some film sometimes, and the timelessness of camp.
Oh yeah.
And I think when, with the rustic accommodations and the every other day showering.
Oh yeah,
it really helps leave that, that timeless kind of
yeah, it was a big upgrade for us when we got hot water and let girls come to camp in the 60s. That was a very big deal when they bought water heaters. And there we still have, like, in the 30s and 40s, camp just had 7 bathtubs and they were on a deck. And like now we require campers to shower every other day, right? Like cleanliness actually matters. But like in the 40s, it was a different world. Like if they didn't want to, they didn't, and they would then bring them by the cabin, and also they would all get in a bathtub. And our founder's wife, a woman named Jeannie Veazey, would go down the row and scrub their backs with a I mean, just straight out of a movie. And the stories you hear our alumni from that period talk about with just the color of the water. It's just like,
I mean, I can like
colored.
smell it. Can you just imagine
right?
like dinner time and like what those kids and adults would smell like? That's so funny. Oh my God.
So we still have some of the bathtubs. Like we have one like at our horse corral. It's like a flower bed now, but yeah, they're still around.
Do you find that your campers that return year to year, do they return together like as a group? They kind of all that the bunks kind of travel, or is it kind of a new adventure every?
I think that's a really good question. Our older bunks, like what we call our Eagles, so those are kids who are in 8th and 9th grade. A lot of those kids have been together for several years.
Right.
Obviously, as you get younger, that's not as true. I would say kind of by the time you get to our middle age group with just tigers, so like 4th and 5th graders, a lot of those kids are coming in cold, not coming with somebody. Maybe one. We do say we'll do one mutual request. So if parents say this kid is who my kid wants to be with, and the other, we'll do one.
Right.
But a lot of it is really, I mean, camp is this way in general, right? You want to meet new people, and camp isn't like you're not coming with everybody from your school, so you're going to meet new people in the bunk 100%.
Right. I love that. I just also wanted to give you a little shout out on your staff page on your website. I thought is really incredible. You've got everybody's picture and their bios. I got very distracted. So guys, if you are contemplating and thinking about sending your kids to Gold Arrow Camp, you can actually look at every staff member and look that they are truly a very trustworthy and clean looking bunch. Let me tell you.
And
Gold Arrow Camp.
It's really interesting. We were talking because, you're looking at analytics on the website, and Meet the Staff is like our 3rd most visited page. Like people want to see who's coming to camp. And for me, like it's our kitchen crew is on there. Our facilities team is on there. I think parents should get to see every single human who's working at camp. I trust all these people. They're all tremendous. I want to show them all off. So that's a big deal for us.
100%. And also, because I wanted to mention it, on your website, you have pictures of the kids holding the little pennants, the 90th anniversary pennants. And I think they're so cool. And I would love to get one because I love them. But
I will say, if you want a 90th, I will send you a 90th pennant.
I would love it. I thought
we do it every year. Yeah. So we do a pennant every year. So when you enroll, we send you the little felt pennant. And we have kids who have like 7 or 8 of them in their bedrooms. Which is pretty cool.
I love that. So what's next for GAC? Like, we've been here 90 years. What's going to happen the next 10?
That's a really great question. I think some of it is figuring out philosophically where you change and where you refuse to change, right? We have been and will for, I think, the foreseeable future. We're going to be rustic. We're going to be no electronics and no electricity. We're going to be out in nature doing nature things. We're not going to be competitive. Those things are like core to who we are. We're going to be about building relationships and making yourself better. That's the core of the GAC experience for us. So I wouldn't anticipate big changes. I think, you'll probably see a new logo at some point. The website's going to get rebuilt, but the basic experience, and I think a lot of camps take a lot of pride in this, and rightfully so, is, what we say to alumni is you're going to come back and it's going to seem really different. It's going to seem exactly the same. And I think that's the thing for us is it's these little incremental changes, right? The way we talk about overcoming fear has changed. It probably will again. The way we talk about being inclusive has certainly changed, and it will again. But that's not a philosophical change, right? The philosophy is still like we're a kind and open community where everybody's in a family. How we express those things, I think, will change, but I think at the root, it will not change. And I think, when you talk to camps in general, right? Because this is a pro-camp podcast, and we should be very clear about this. Not everybody's the same, right? Like there are computer coding camps, and they're tremendous. And we should, like, the beauty of it is it's still transformational, right? Like if I go to coding camp, if I send my daughter to coding camp, it's still going to be transformational. It's going to be a different kind of transformational. But all of those experiences are really important and really formative. And I'm of the opinion that the format of camp is one of the things that makes America really tremendous. Because like camp is a distinctly American thing, right? You see a little bit of it in Mexico. It exists in China to some degree because they recognize the value of American camping, and that model. But if you think about the things that make Americans really tremendous, right? Across the board, it's a strong sense of independence. It's a strong sense of can do. It's perhaps at times an overbearing sense of confidence, right? I think that's true culturally of America. And you look at where does that develop? And certainly in the last 100 years, right? The history of organized camping, so 120 years, a lot of that develops at camp, right? And if you explain to European parents or South American parents, whatever, what have you, hey, so what you're going to do is you're going to pay these guys a lot of money and you're just going to put your kid on a charter bus with somebody you haven't really met. Like you shook their hand, they seem nice enough, and you're going to take them. You're going to send them off to the woods.
I know.
And what they're going to do is they're going to turn them over to a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds and just turn them loose. I think objectively, if we didn't know camp, everybody go like, you're bananas, right? You're insane. Like when we train. So one of my roles at camp that doesn't sound as fun is like, I'm the safety guy and I'm the the liability guy, right? Which is a whole different conversation about how you build a culture of safety that's still fun, but it's there. And when I train staff, I'm like, listen, I need you to fundamentally understand that you get this place, but parents are putting so much trust in you and it seems insane because it does. But the outcomes are so powerful, right? I think that just speaks to the outcomes because parents wouldn't do it again if they didn't see an outcome they really loved. Right. And I think that speaks to the value of camp. It's really hard. The ACA has done a lot of great work trying to put numbers on this. It's so hard to put numbers on like child development and confidence. How do you measure confidence? How do you measure a kid who does the dishes when they come home? That's really hard to do. But I think like the anecdotal evidence is so clear that camps do that. So I don't know how I got started on that, but I'm passionate about.
Well, at the end you were like the kid that comes home washing dishes, and I'm like, are your campers washing dishes? Like, is that a skill? Like, as part of, and I, not that you're, making your kids do work, but in terms of the culture and the cleanup and is that something that they do? So what?
100%. Yeah. Like, so there's going to be like, you don't call it a chore table, but it's a chore table, right? And so somebody's got to set the table. Like we're buffet service, like you go through the line, but when you get to your table, there's going to be a glass of water for you. There's going to be a napkin and silverware set for you. And one of your cabin mates will have set that. And at the end of the meal, two of your cabin mates are going to collect the dishes, solids and liquids, right? You're going to do the trash thing. You take the dishes up to the pit because it's for us at the beginning, it was very practical. Like I've got a crowded dining porch. I can't have everybody at the dish window at once. Like it doesn't work with our facility, but it ends up being philosophical. Right. And I think, if we talk about 90 years, right. Camps philosophically at the beginning, at least ours, was get boys away from the city, which is making them soft, put them in the mountains, turn them loose, make them rugged.
Right.
And also exactly. And also like frankly, like we're going to be kind of mean and we're going to make them they're going to muck and feed horses because they're soft in the city. And that philosophy has actually changed, right? That's not what we want to do anymore. And at the same time, I still have early morning muck and feed that kids sign up for to go clean out horse stalls and feed them. And I think one of the things is like, if you give kids the opportunity, they want to help. They want to work. They want structure, right? I think as adults, we're like, kids just want to run wild. Not at all. Kids want structure. They want to feel like part of the team. They want to feel like they've contributed. And it's not hard to set your camp up to give them opportunities to do that. And it makes your life a lot easier.
I mean, think about the pride that kid feels when they get up early, they clean that stall, and that instant gratification to like, look, I did it. I mean, we're teaching these kids how to sweep and how to do some stuff like that. And
cabin inspection,
but it's so valuable.
Seems so trivial, and it seems so practical. If we don't zip everything up, we will get mice in the bags.
Right.
Right. That's
I
don't want to chase mice. And so I'm going to require, and I'm going to have camp moms who inspect every morning. Great. that can be boring and terrible. Or if you have a dumb traveling trophy and you sing a silly, like when our morning assembly, right? Our camp moms come down to present the cleanest girls' cabin, the cleanest boys' cabin every morning. And when they come down, we play Darth Vader's entrance music.
Oh, I love it.
And everybody has to stand up and salute, right? And like you play them up as this villain, even though they're the sweetest women on the planet. They're not villains. Everybody knows they're nice, right? But we had to talk about cleaning. Well, that's scary stuff. But to watch kids and the pride they have when they get to pose with the banner that says "Clean Campers Live Here," and then you hear from parents on an eval, like, I don't know who you returned to me, but he did his dishes and his laundry is in the hamper, which does not happen. And then, like, our longtime parents will say on an eval, I know who you've sent me home. Is there a way I can keep it sticky? Because by November, we'll be back to usual.
Right,
it's like, I'm sorry,
right,
I can't make it stick. Like, I can only do what I can do.
There's no warranty, okay? It's not guaranteed.
No, caveat emptor, indeed.
I've actually, as I'm a division leader now, and I do a lot of inspection. And I've had to actually relax a little bit. I tended to be a little strict, so I'm trying to loosen up and be a little bit more.
Sometimes you got to talk to camp moms and be like, hey, ladies,
I know
I need some people to be winners. Like, I understand the cabins weren't great. We can do some re-inspecting, but also, like, give the baby bears, give the 7-year-olds a win today. Just let them feel good. I know it's a disaster. Let them feel good.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. So I know also, Soy, you do a little podcasting yourself. You want to tell me about that? We do.
Yeah, we have a camp podcast, the Gold Arrow Camp Pogcast, because our most popular juice is passion orange guava. So we have the Pogcast.
Wait. You serve fancy passion orange guava juice at camp. Can we just backtrack before we talk about your tell me about a favorite. Tell me about the food, man. Food's so important.
Food's important. Yes, let us be clear. So we don't do a snack bar. You can't buy candy. I don't have a Coke machine, nothing like that. All the food is on the dining porch. Again, I think historically, like last of the rugged camps, we probably would have, but we're in the high Sierra, and so you have a bear issue. And the way you deal with bears, you keep all the trash in one place. And so the food stays on the dining porch.
Okay.
Right. Which then philosophically, you talk about like, we want to live healthy. And so we can then very tightly control all of that stuff. And so, we got juice machines. So you have passion orange guava, which everybody just calls Pog. And then you get your cranberry, you got a little apple, a little orange, maybe a little enhanced water, little blueberry acai. Ooh, listen, for our East Coast friends, yes, I am in California. And so we are going to do some fruity tooty. Have we served avocado toast before? One time we did it. Sure. Let's get wild.
All right, there's only so rustic you can get in California. You got to have your avocado toast.
Exactly. Listen, we're eating al fresco, but we are going to have avocado toast. Food is incredibly important. You got to have a lot of choices. You need to be able to cater so that people with one of the things our food service manager talks about is she wants kids with food restrictions to not feel like they have restrictions. So it's on occasion we'll have a kid with a severe enough allergy that he has to, so we have a special person they go to for their food, right? But it's simple things like when you serve orange chicken, right? Which is like chicken chunks and orange sauce, right? Historically, we would serve that all mixed together. Orange chicken is a big winner. But if you have kids who are gluten-free, the orange sauce has soy and soy has gluten. And so if you just serve the sauce on the side, then that kid can go through the line like a normal person, doesn't get the sauce. And so she does a lot of thinking, that kind of thing. We serve all the camp classic, hamburgers, pizza, chicken fingers, also tri-tip, which is a Western kind of beef roast situation. Listen, once in a while, a caprese salad. Who doesn't love a fresh caprese salad in the summer?
Doesn't love some mozzarella and tomato.
Right. Thank you. And again, this is one of those things people are like, oh, how could you serve kids something like caprese? And I'm like, we serve like 70 pounds of it when we serve it. Like, kids love it.
You want to see some kids eat some tomatoes?
Exactly.
There you go.
Well, and it's the same kind of thing with a salad bar, right? Like, you have a salad bar and parents are like, why did they learn about jicama? I'm like, well, because it was on the salad bar and they tried it. Because like the salad bar, again, we're talking about empowering kids, right? Turn a kid loose on the salad bar. They get to decide. If you want to eat croutons and goldfish crackers for dinner, your counselor's probably going to be like, hey, dude, let's try and get some protein, but they're not going to force you to do it. Right. And so then if you're hungry before lunch, learning a pretty practical lesson about like, I can't have goldfish for breakfast.
Right. Oh my God. All right. So let's go back. We digressed. Yes. All right.
I'm shocked.
About your podcast. And then I just want to give you 100% of my attention.
So we have a podcast. listen, it's not critically acclaimed yet. It hasn't won any awards yet, but I have faith in the growth mindset that we might someday.
Like
For us, it's mostly me talking with staff members about what camp is like and why they love it so much. It's a great way for us to stay connected to our community year round, right? It's a great way. We found for our staff that we've hired that are new, they like to listen to it because they're hearing other staff members talk about what's it like to work there. Yeah, it's called the Gold Arrow Camp Podcast, POGCAST. You can find it wherever podcasts are found. It's commercial free. No breaks. You won't hit that skip 30 button. You just my dulcet tones talking to people. I think we have like 70 some odd episodes.
wow, that's
and we're getting ready
episodes.
yeah, we're ramping up again here to get launched in the spring. And then during the summer, we have a podcast. So it becomes WADA. This is going to get convoluted. We have a camp song that has this.
Yeah. I heard that camp song. Now I need to sing it. Sing it.
Yeah.
Sing it. Wada,
so
wada,
the
wada,
chorus
wada,
goes,
go.
the chorus goes, Gold Arrow Camp, wada, 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 my favorite camp, wada, 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 no other camp, wada, 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 will ever do. Woo! And when you wada, you have to do like the Chubby Checkers twist. And so in the summer, our podcast becomes Wada Week, which is like a weekly recap of like, hey, here's what we did at camp this week. Because that's when parents are really checking, right? They just want to know what's going on at camp. Their kids are there, and they want to hear, and that's one way we can do it. And then, the rest of the year, it's, kids can listen on the way to school or whatever and just hear somebody they really miss who they loved as a counselor because they're going to be on the pod.
How often do you record or
Yeah, it's as I have interest, but we try kind of every other week once we get rolling. So I've got 2 scheduled for right now. They'll probably start kind of in March as we really ramp up for the summer. As people start thinking about summer, we'll ramp up then.
I know when I was but right before I started working at my camp, which was in 2018, I was going with my 3 kids. I was starving for camp content.
Yes.
I was like on YouTube, looking for videos that kids were making about what they were packing and just to hear any experience. Like I couldn't get enough of that informative camp content. So I wish you were out there 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
And I think that the thing is, right, and I think this podcast does a nice job. I think people just want to hear about camps and so much of like you end up at camp where you went to camp or where your friends send their kids, right? Like the camp is largely a referral business. Right. And so like one of the ways you can share with people who are like, because a lot of times people are sending their kids to camp just because like their neighbor had a really great experience and they trust their neighbor. But if you could be talking to them so they can hear your voice, they can see your face, and it helps new campers, right? They get off the bus. They've never been to camp before. When they roll down the driveway, like you see me, you hear my voice, you've seen me on the website, you've seen me we do like these once a month virtual Zoom assemblies, right? You could do that kind of thing. So that way you're like, oh, I've never been here, but I have this touch point. I know that person. I know that person. I've heard this song. You're making that transition into camp so much easier, which for first year campers can be really hard.
First year campers, first year parents,
first year staff members,
everything.
Yeah.
So staff members. So last quick questions about your staff.
Sure.
What's your return rate with staff? Do you have a lot of staff that come back year after year?
Yeah, we're probably on people who are eligible, right? Because like I look at a person who works for us for 3 years and then gets an accounting degree and goes off into the world. Right. Like they would come back if they could. Right. Among people who could come back, I think we're probably in the 75% retention rate.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think, it's one of the things that I think helps is we hire a lot of staff. And so you feel like you have a lot of support that you're going to be tired. You're going to be exhausted. Like the job is really hard, but you feel like I'm not in this alone. They didn't abandon me, that kind of thing. I think, listen, if I'm really frank, we pay the California minimum wage for camps, which, puts us at a higher wage point. And so people can afford, like, one of the things camps struggle with is college students are like, I got to get a job to like pay rent and this isn't going to do it. If you're paying, in that neighborhood in California, then you're affordable. Like people can come and work because they can afford to, they don't take this huge hit. And so then you can retain staff. And I think some of it's also just making camp staff feel valued. I could give you several hours on like they're humans first. And, if you talk to camp professionals, they'll have this long list of frustrations with staff and you're like, yeah. And also like they're people.
Right. I have my own bedroom and my own bathroom that I can like escape to if I need, like a minute to decompress. Yeah. And those kids, then they're kids too. They're on.
Yeah, they're 19.
They're on 24/7. They do such an incredible job.
I couldn't have done it, right? Like my camp story is like, I could not have been a cabin counselor. I could not have done it.
That's
Everybody
right.
knows it.
Facilities. You started.
Yeah, I was like, give me a
facilities.
job where I could be at camp around kids, but I'm like also plunging a toilet. Like that's what I need.
Do you
So,
have a lot of international?
yeah, we're probably 35% ish probably international on the staff side.
Okay.
And it's it's Australian, New Zealand,
Right.
Colombia this year. Sorry, this year Australia, New Zealand, Colombia, Mexico, the UK, South Africa, Germany, I think, and America, obviously, I think is where
That
we have
sounds
hired
very
people right now.
similar to the like to the probably very similar to the cross section that we get at
Yeah.
my camp. All right, so I have one last question
Yes,
for
let's
you,
do it.
and it's amazing. Is that a Pez collection behind you with the
It is.
entire presidents?
It is. It's well, it's not all of them. They have not released yet the Donald Trump Pez, so I don't have a Trump or Biden. But that is I call them the Pesidents. Those are the Pesidents. Yes.
Oh, how funny.
Bad
Well,
jokes for years. Yeah.
So are you a Pez guy, or are you just
I
like a
am. And
politics guy?
before I did this full time, I taught government, and so I had the Pesidents in my classroom
Okay.
for no good reason other than I like Pez and I think they're goofy and fun.
You're cool because you're a cool teacher. That's why.
Well, I like to think so. I wasn't a disciplinarian, so I had to have something going for me.
Okay. All right. Well, Soy, I cannot thank you enough for joining me
This was
today
great.
in the HC. This conversation was so great. I wish
agree.
you the best peace, love, and light in
Thank you.
2023, this summer. Hey guys, if you want to know more about GAC, Gold Arrow Camp, you can check out their website at goldarrowcamp.com. They've got some great videos. Like I said, you can check out their entire staff, very handsome bunch. And if you want to hear more about camp, you can listen to more of the My Camp podcast, where you listen to your podcast on Spotify or Apple, or we have a great YouTube channel, like wherever you want to listen, we will be there. And I can't wait to have you back and join me for the next podcast. And I'll save us more for you.
Take a moment to shine.